Hey, I'm Joe, and I'm an actor. Or at least I will be once somebody notices me. I know it's only been a week, but I've tried everything. The looks, the lines, and the charm. Still nothing. But I've got an idea. Something big and something bold. Something that's really going to get their attention. For my next act, I will set my house on fire. Just a little fire, you know. Just show I'm serious. It's happening in Hollywood every day now. All the big name actors are doing it.
Whoa, Joe. Are you out of your mind? You're not actually thinking of setting your house on fire, are you?
You know, it's all in good fun. Joe. A little spark, a little drama, nothing too crazy. Just enough to get noticed.
Joe, it's not just good fun. I mean, have you seen the news lately? This is a terrible idea.
Well, what do you suggest? I mean, fire dancing? I mean, you know, with actual flames? Something to really get the heat going?
Fire dancing would be kind of cool, but I don't know if it's worth the risk. Just think about it. That's all I ask.
Fire dancing. That could get me noticed. And if things really get hot, someone will think I'm auditioning for the next big action hero role, or at least a fire safety commercial. Big break. Here we come. We begin tonight's show with the man who has been recently honored for his star performances. Longtime Woodford coach and Hall of Famer Rob Sheldon joins me now. So, Rob, welcome to the Joe Show.
This is a dream come true, Joe.
Probably one of the highlights of your life.
Of my life.
So, Rob, I'm just going to get it over with because every time we get together with a couple of our buddies, Steve Gray, Steve Moore, it always comes up. So, go ahead and roll it, Brian.
I hope you get a good shot of Joe after this set play goes in.
Jesus.
Oh, look at Lee Rowlandson in the middle of that pile. Unbelievable. Hirsch and I practiced that play quite a few times, Joe.
But hey, let's I mean, look at this. I mean, it's kind of a once in a lifetime shot, but maybe do talk to our viewers a little bit about, as a coach, the amount of time that you did put into special situations.
Well, we ran that play every Thursday. You know, with different time. You know, if there's 8 seconds to go, 5 seconds to go, and what was it, 2.1 or? So
I think it was like 2.6. I don't know. I used to remember exactly the time because if I ever saw a game like with that, I was like, don't bring it back.
Well, and you know, Joe, we worked our special situations starting with 4 minutes to go. At 4 minutes to go, there was only a couple kids that were allowed to shoot the basketball. We get it down to 2 with the lead in the ball. Now we're going to spread the floor, and we're taking nothing but a layup because, you know, we convinced our kids if they foul us, that's 2 and we're going the other way. So, you know, we broke the final quarter down into that, which also was easy to play into the end of the first, second, or third, is because we had a set play that we'd run out of the 4 corners, and you know, Thursday was our day of virtually going over every possible scenario whether it's on the baseline, sideline, or full court.
Yep. You know, and one of the things, that we try to do, and I guess maybe my last 10 years especially, I remember we went to Worcester team camp in the summer, and they had a segment of special situations. So they had a sheet of like 50 different plays, and all I did was I copied that. And then throughout the season, we would try to pick those situations so that by the end of the season, there could be 50 scenarios that we've gone through.
Yes.
And I think it really helped. One, I think it really helps like at this time of the year in practice, because sometimes your kids lose that focus. I think a little bit of, that's just a long grind.
Exactly.
And you put them into those situations and make them think too, because a lot of times what I did was, the kids knew what we were going to do, but like you said, in the 4-minute situation, you let kids kind of make those decisions, and then afterwards, it was kind of like, well, why did you make this play, or why did you not make this play, or why did you throw the ball to this certain guy?
And the other thing, Joe, not only offensively, but the good coaches were working on it defensively too.
Yeah. Yes.
Down 3, down 1, down 5, where timeouts are a priority, and if you have to stop and let your kids know what we're doing, if we get an offensive rebound with a score tied in less than 8 or 9 seconds, I never called timeout. We went right down and got into our transition, and we knew exactly what we were doing. But to do that, it takes an awful lot of preparation. And that preparation for late game situations in our program usually started week 2 of the preseason.
Well, and our preparation for you started week 1 because Sheldon was a lot of teaching how to defend flare screens.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Well, now that you've ruined another one of my days, I think it's always interesting as I bring coaches on for coaches to kind of talk a little bit about their journey. And I know you were a really good high school player, and I know your dad had a big influence on you getting into this. So maybe talk a little bit about just where you played high school basketball at, and talk a little bit about your dad, because I believe your dad was also a coach too.
Yes, he was. I played a little at Elyria, in probably the best conference that you could have been in. And, Mansfield was in there, Admiral King, Lorraine, Fremont, Findlay, Marion Harding. My high school team traveled to all away games on Greyhound buses. We'd leave at noon, we'd stop someplace if we were playing at Mansfield or Marion and have a pregame meal. And we were very, very good. From there, I went to Bluffton College. And the big thing about that was I was roofing in the summer, making $10 an hour underneath the table in 1969. So, my dad comes up to me, who was a Hall of Fame football coach for the Pioneers. And he said, "You got to go to college." And I said, "Well, I'm making real good money." He says, "You work in the summer. Roofers work in the winter in Ohio, and there's snow on those roofs." So went to Bluffton College because I wanted to keep playing. Well, you get to Bluffton, all of a sudden you got to figure out, I got 4 years. What am I going to do? Well, growing up in the coaching house, and I coached elementary kids at Elyria, and it was something that I never thought was going to be a job. I didn't realize I had to teach too. I just thought I could be a full-time coach. But that's the start of it. My dad was a huge influence on me. He was tough, and I watched him coach because I was out. He was also the freshman basketball coach at Elyria. So as a fourth grader, I'm running drills with the Elyria, freshman team. So I got a great background from that. My dad was tough. I would consider myself tough on kids also. I coached in a community that allowed me to coach their kids.
Well, let's talk about that. You mentioned your high school years, played at Bluffton, had a good career at Bluffton. How did you talk a little bit about that then when you ended your graduate from college? How you ended up at Winford High School eventually?
Well, right out of college, there was a job opened at Ottawa Glandorf, So Doc Schaefer, who was a big wig in Ottawa, took me up to Bowling Green because I had to pick up general science. I didn't have general science as a teaching. So he took me up there. I spent 2 years at OG. My second year, the head coaching job opened up. They removed the guy that hired me, and I applied for the job, and some guy named Ron Niekamp applied for the job too.
He wasn't too bad.
and he was coming out of Parkway as a head coach. Yep. So I worked with Ron for a year at OG, and probably one of the best game night coaches I've ever been associated with. Ron could draw something up or spend a time out talking about this is what we're going to do, and we hadn't practiced it. And it was amazing. Game night, switching defenses, probably one of the most innovative guys I worked with, and because I was a JV coach for 2 years. After that year, I wanted to run my own show. So I went up to Pioneer, Ohio, and coached 4 years at North Central. And the thing about North Central was the 3 previous years they had fired the coach after every year, every year. Well, I said something to one of the administrators that was interviewing me. I said, "Where does this crowd go after games?" And they said, "Well, they go to the Legion." So I'm thinking, so after the first game, we happened to play a team called Edgerton. And here's some guy named some skinny kid running around on the floor that could flat out shoot. It was Joe. So my first job as a head coach, we play Edgerton and lose by 20 or 30 or whatever. But as soon as that game was over, I went up to the Legion. And I walked into the Legion, and the whole place got quiet. So I got to know who was who, and it was a pretty easy run from there on out. We had average teams until my last 2 years. My last year at North Central, we went to the regionals and beat Ottawa Hills in the district finals, went to the regionals, and played a team called St. Henry, which Jim Lachey was a sophomore jumping center for them. So
and had thighs as big as our waist.
So from there, it was on to Winford, and I was up there for 4 years, and I just wanted a bigger atmosphere. And the Winford job came open, and I knew of Winford, and the interviewed and got the job, and my principal, Don Miller, said, all you got to do is get us to a regional. Winford had never been to a regional. Tremendous success under Jim Bauer and Bernie Witzman. And so I knew I had an opportunity to coach kids, and every successful coach coaches great players.
Yeah. You of course, we all know you had a great coaching career at Winford, and recently had the court named after you, which is long overdue. But maybe just talk about. I know it's hard because people have asked me, like, what are some of your best memories? But maybe talk about a couple of your best memories that you've had coaching at Winford, besides what we just watched at the beginning.
If you'd run that clip again, I'll break it down as to how I outcoached Joe on that set play. But first time getting to the regionals, we had to beat Mansfield St. Peter's in the district finals to get there. Joe Guilfoyle was the coach there. And
was that at Lex?
That was at Lex.
I think I remember that. Yep.
And we then went to the Canton Fieldhouse and played Apple Creek. Waynedale had a guy named Reeby,
Eric Reeby, yep,
who could flat out play.
Really,
and then in the finals, ended up getting the lead and stayed ahead. And that first trip to the state tournament was amazing. Now, what was a little disappointing is from 1969 to the present time, which would have been 87, that weekend at the state tournaments with coaches, players, that was the best weekend of the year. And the first year we go to Dayton. And not that I was going to turn it down or anything, but so we go to Dayton, and that was the first regional trip. And the second to last game I was coaching my son Robbie, and we were playing at Ontario against Huron, and won the district championship at Ontario, which we didn't necessarily win a lot of games on that floor. Joe's assistants were better than mine, and, but those were highlights.
Yeah. So what year did you get out of coaching?
My last year was 2003. We got beat at Bowling Green by Elyria Catholic.
And I mean, I'm out now. Fro's gotten out. We got a lot of our guys have been out. What kind of led to that decision, just of getting out?
Well,
because you came back and you were still an administrator at Wynford for several years.
I spent 4 more years there. I retired and rehired. Gave me an opportunity to purchase a golf course or a house on the golf course in North Carolina. But it also gave me an opportunity to watch basketball again. And there's a big difference between sitting in the stands and sitting on the bench.
Yep.
So I got to watch Tim and Hirsch have 4 great years, went to the regionals a couple times out with that group. And I waited for my wife Brenda, who was working at Angeline, and that was 30 years. So once she got her 30 years in, packed up and away we went.
You have 5 sons.
6, Josh.
6 sons, excuse me,
Yes.
6, I'm sorry. And 3 of them have kind of followed the same path that you have. Maybe talk a little bit about, I mean, each of them are a little bit different maybe, but maybe talk a little bit about what it means for you to have them coaching.
I was pretty tough on my sons as a coach. Every coach knows there's 3 or 4 guys you can bust. There's a couple guys you got to kind of say, hey, we got to do this. Well, I was really tough on my kids, and one of the things was, and I remember Hirsch telling this to one of my players. He says, "Man, coach is all over Robbie," and he goes, "Yeah, and he loves Robbie. What's he going to do to you?" So, I knew Chris was going to get into it right away. He had very good knowledge, picked up, was a solid high school player for me, played 4 years at Bluffton. David also played 4 years at Bluffton. And David was chasing the Bucks.
Yep.
I don't want to go check to check like he growing up in my house. We did.
But he did well too.
He did real well. He went to the NBA, went from Charlotte to Orlando to Cleveland.
Yep.
And he's making stupid money. And he's in Cleveland. He's probably been out of college 5 or 6 years. And I remember getting a phone call saying, "David, or Dad, I can't do this anymore." I said, "Dave, what are you talking about? You can't do this anymore. You're an entertainer. You're selling sweets to guys that have money. You're not on the phone, making 150 phone calls for tickets." So he said, I can't do this. I want to coach." And it's like, "Oh, David, it's going to take you 5 years in coaching to make what you're making." Can't do it, want to do it. So fortunately enough, he came back to this area, worked at Bucyrus. Chris was at Western, and my son Michael is the coach in North Carolina. I have 2 grandsons, a junior and a freshman, that are playing basketball for Mike down there. And Mike's at a very rural, tough school, low-income school, and his teams have been successful. So to see 3 kids go on and into coaching, it's like, was I a good role model or was I not a good role model? And Josh coached junior high basketball for us there too. So 4 of the 6 sons, education, still in education, and it was good for me. I hear them talk when they're interviewed, saying nice things. I don't hear them say much nice things except Christmas when you pass the checks out. But it's been remarkable to watch these guys coach, the styles that they coach. You know, I'm very proud of what the Sheldons have accomplished. And then you add Amy to it, who I hired as a coach, and man, she's now won 404 games. And one of the guys told me the paint on the floor with your name's erasable. Amy's is going down as soon as you go back to North Carolina.
We're gonna see the name crossed.
So,
Rob crossed out.
You know, it's been great, and now with grandkids playing, watching a grandkid play basketball is one thing that I didn't get a chance to do because they were playing for me. And I remember the first game David played at Bluffton. He started his first game, started 4 straight years. But I'm watching him play, and I'm up in the stands. Why didn't he knock the cutter down? Well, the cutter was 6'8", but it's totally different. Grandkids have touched a part of my heart that I didn't get a chance to do with my own sons because I was too busy.
Yep, and that's I don't think people understand just how much time. I mean, I've talked to several coaches, and they're like, "Do you miss it?" I go, "No," because pretty much every day, it didn't matter if it was during the season, the spring, the summer, you were always thinking something about basketball. You were thinking about, well, is so-and-so going to fit into this position, or what are they doing? It was never off of your mind, and I think that's why our relationship, among a group of us was so great, because we shared it.
Absolutely.
We shared it.
And Joe, we weren't getting home during the week till 9 o'clock. Nope. And kids were in bed by the time we got home.
I told this story, before we built the new gym in Ontario, we just.
I like that old gym.
We had the old gym. And so I remember the one year the girls, they had a freshman team, so we were trying to figure out, well, how are we going to practice? So we decided, okay, girls, we were going to divide it, but there was going to be a practice session from 3 to 6, and then the other one went from 6 to 9:30, and you would decide how you wanted to divide it up. So there would be nights we would start a varsity practice at 8 o'clock and go 8 to 9:30.
Oh yeah.
So we go to the new gym, and after every year I would have a questionnaire for kids, is there anything you would like to see different and change? And I would talk to the kids, and some kid go, yeah, not practice so late, and the latest practice was 5 to 7. I was like, you should have been here 10 years ago. When I wasn't
really tough.
And then that was when kids showered, so you didn't get out of there till 10:15.
Absolutely.
So, well, finally, it's been great to have you, but you watched a lot of basketball now. You coached it. As you watch basketball today, high school basketball, are there any kind of concerns that you have about the game as it's moving forward here? Because I think, you remember Al Welch, and we buy all of our trophies for the association through Al, and I talked to him a few weeks ago, and Al's got that voice. He goes, Joe, he goes, I think we coached in the greatest era, 80s and 90s, and I kind of look back and I go, it was pretty great, because we'd go to Winford and there'd be 300 people waiting outside to get into the gym when the bus came up. So as you watch basketball here, recently, the last few years, any kind of concerns that you have?
Well, number one, we put that 3-point line that we had to adjust to, that now is the central focus of everything. I think fundamentally, high school basketball isn't where it was. And I'm concerned about, I watch teams play, and every time the guard has the ball, there's 2 possible outlets. My kids would read the post to see how he was guarded. Well, now I watch high school basketball, and the first pass is 10 feet behind the 3-point line, Joe. And, our whole focus was defensively was push the ball one way, get it in the box, and don't let it out. Well, I watch kids now chase cutters all the way out to the back corner with their back to the basket or to the ball. And I'm just concerned about the fundamentals that are being taught, but then again, understanding where AAU, which I'm not a big AAU guy, I never have been, understanding what they're doing in AAU, are they running any fundamental breakdown practices? No. It's all ball dominant. And when you watch a ball dominant team, one guy's dribbling the ball and 4 other guys are standing.
Well,
I wish you would have ran that offense because we could have guarded you.
And I think back, when we talked those 80s and 90s, we sound like 2 old codgers now. But,
yeah.
But the AAU was kind of for the elite players. I mean, we didn't have hardly any kids that played AAU. What they did is they were in the driveway working on their skills, or
Absolutely.
we had an open gym, or if kids knew there was an open gym at Winford, they would just go.
Well,
and we didn't have to follow them.
No. And those open gyms, Joe, were college kids in there, everybody from the area. I would have never been in the Hall of Fame if you would have taken my amount of wins in open gym. And the other thing about what was good about open gym, you got your butt beat, you sat down.
Yep, and you didn't play.
Now you go to team camp and you get beat by 20, and you go to the next court, you lose by 15, and I'm concerned about how important is winning compared to how important is my stats.
Yep.
That concerns me. Yep. We had a great game. I'm not saying basketball isn't. There are some outstanding coaches that are still doing it our way, Joe.
Yeah. I mean, I think the part is there's things. I think there's things in every sport. They're not fun to do.
No.
But if you're going to be good,
yes,
you have to do them.
Exactly right.
I mean, I think I told you the story. Went and saw a game last night, and the referee calls a double T, and I see the coach take the kid out, and I'm just kind of watching the kid. And the kid really wasn't saying anything back, but he was kind of. And I saw the coach look at him. He goes, it's not my rule. It's not his rule. He goes, it's our team rule. And I think it was, if you get a technical, you're going to sit. And that's what happened. He sat for like 8 minutes in the game.
Well, and all the good guys, all the good coaches that we coached against were in total control of the organization. I'm not so sure that some of the younger guys that are in at number 1 didn't have to work their way up and play and coach with a Ron Niekamp. And that type of scenario, you waited as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have guys jumping into coaching right now, and I kind of get it because the gymnasium's a little different than what it was when we were there.
Well, and I go back, I guess when I got the job at Ontario, I think part of that was because of you, because you worked for Greg Morrison when he was a principal at North Central. I got hired by Greg when I was a JV coach at Fort Laramie, and then Greg kind of talked me into coming to Ontario, and then I come here as a varsity assistant. The guy leaves after 1 year, and I interviewed.
This Bud's for us. Wasn't it Bud Livingston? Yeah, okay.
And I interviewed for the job, and I wasn't really sure I was going to get it, but I think he either called you or you made a phone call and you said, hey, you got a young guy right there that can do the job.
Yeah.
So I've always appreciated that. And
yeah, that was one of the dumber phone calls I made. My resume would look a little bit better if I wasn't coaching against you 2 times a year. Well, no, but Joe, what you did there, you changed the culture. I mean, Ontario hadn't been a consistent winner. You can't change overnight. I mean, your first couple years there were tough.
No.
And then you become a much better recruiter, and you got the Maloneys and those guys in.
Yeah, I remember the 1 year we weren't very good. You came over, you're like, how you doing? I go, I'm good. And you're like, no, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. I go, Rob, we're just not very good. And then I think we went to scout something, and we were going to play you in the tournament. And I think it's when you had Mac and something was said, and you go, oh, Joe, you got so-and-so's better. And I go, hey, I'll give you any guys you got if I can take Mac right now. And you go, well, I don't think I'll do that.
But that was part of our job, Joe. Part of our job was to help the guys in the area.
Yep.
And you came in Fro came in that knew nobody. You knew nobody here. And part of the job was to develop the brotherhood and help young coaches get better.
Because it helped the games.
It helped. And even if you weren't in our circle, if one of the league coaches would call me and say, Rob, why do you do this? Coaching is basically being the best thief in the area, stealing everything that you can. And so it was great. Our young kids our young coaches. I'm proud of them. They're working hard, but it's no cell phones, no streaming on TV. We had them. Sometimes our coaches today only see them for 2 hours and then have no idea.
Well, appreciate you coming in, sharing some stories. It's always great to see you.
It was good, and I don't think they're going to have to bleep anything out, because sometimes the language might get carried away a little bit. But it's excellent, and what you guys are doing here for high school basketball, and the games you're putting on, for people to watch games, is amazing. And really, really proud to be a small part of this today, and hopefully you continue to cover the game of basketball, because it's a great game to watch.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks,
Greatly
Joe.
appreciated.
Season 3 of The Joe Show is brought to you exclusively by Buckeye Horizon, your local Trane comfort specialist. Schedule an appointment online at BuckeyeHorizon.com or call their Mansfield location at 419-529-2738.
Since returning to action from the holiday break, the Upper Sandusky boys basketball program had won 5 consecutive games until having their streak ended last night in Bellevue. The Rams are still in a great position to compete for the program's first Northern 10 title since 2020, sitting at 10-3 with the second round of their league schedule on the way. I had a chance to check out a recent practice with longtime head coach Jeff Winslow to see what principles have shaped his program and the Rams' resurgence this season. Here with Coach Jeff Winslow, a guy that I guess I've known for a while. I think one of the things as we do these interviews with coaches, it's always interesting to kind of get a little bit of background, like where you went to high school, and then kind of your journey as to how you got into the coaching profession. And then you've been here at Upper how many years now?
This is year 12 at Upper.
Okay, I knew it was over 10, so maybe just kind of give us a little bit of background as like where you started with in high school, and then kind of how you got to this point here at Upper.
Graduated from Monroeville High School. Actually went to school. We played against Columbus Worley in the state finals. Against Jerry Francis and Eli Brewster, and beat them in the state finals.
That is right. I guess I never even knew that about you.
But basketball's just always been part of our family. So, I went to college to play basketball. I was going to go to Heidelberg, hurt my back, so it didn't work out. And so decided I wanted to be a teacher and coach, and that's kind of all I ever wanted to do, is to do both of those. Got into coaching at my home school in Monroeville for a few years right after college, and then got the head basketball job at Monroeville. Was there for a few years. Had twins. Well, my wife had twins. I didn't have twins. And so I took a break, and then Coach Sheldon gave me a call because I had coached against him his first year at Western Reserve. And that's kind of how all this started. So I got with Chris Sheldon at Western Reserve, and that's where I really learned a lot. I mean, the Sheldon boys, they know so much. It's crazy from their dad, and it's kind of where I really got into it. And Chris pushed me into getting my teaching license and become a teacher, and so I got a teaching job at Huron and was there for a few years. Didn't work out. Went back to with Chris for a few years, and then I was at Eastern Ohio camp sitting with David Sheldon, and the AD here was real good friends with David. And he called him while I was sitting next to him, and David looks at me and says, "Wins, you teach phys ed, right?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Brad, I got a perfect guy for you right here. I interview the next day and have a job." So the Sheldons have been a big part of where I'm at today.
Well, and at Upper here, I mean, I'm sure you're aware of it, but maybe not all of our people are aware of it. but you've had 3 undefeated regular seasons, back-to-back in 2016 and 17, and then again in 2020, and then season in 2020 was cut short with
Yeah.
the regionals.
Yeah,
COVID.
finally.
So you're one of the few coaches that's got to win their last game
I won my
of the
last
year,
game.
but didn't win a state title. But you know, with all that success, I think every coach comes into a program and kind of has, I guess the word used to be philosophy, and now the word is culture. So kind of like, what's your philosophy or culture that you've tried to build here over the 12 years you've been at Upper Sandusky?
Well, we just tried to, culture-wise, just let's get kids that want to do things the right way. And if they don't do things the right way, then, I mean, it sounds harsh, some people don't like this, but then they're just not part of the program.
Yep.
And so I don't care if we have 15 kids out or 30 kids out, we want kids that, you know, I learned from Coach Legando at Huron. He was a Huron football coach, he's a Hall of Fame football coach. And the one thing he taught me, you want motivated players, then keep the motivated ones. So he taught me a lot as well, and I sort of took that in consideration, and I just kept the motivated guys, and when you keep guys that are motivated and get along with each other, just the culture just kind of takes over. And here's the thing, I get in an argument with people a lot. I mean, to build culture, you have to win.
Yep.
No matter how much culture you build, if you're losing, you can't build culture. So it's kind of a catch-22. How do you get culture and not win? So the winning helped, you know. They bought into what I was saying, and then we won. That's how you start to develop culture. And then, you know, what's great is like our older guys, they come back for open gyms. They'll come back to practice over Christmas, and they talk to the guys, and they stay in touch with me, and they'll talk to our players. And so all our young players now know all of our players that are up there on the board that played for me. And, you know, it's just kind of a group thing where.
Well, it's good when you have players come back.
It's awesome.
Or they, now you know, you can watch them on the OH report.
Yep.
Or they'll call you, go, hey man, that so and so.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that kid?
Yeah, I've definitely had plenty of that.
I've had
or
that
what the
happen
heck
too,
are you
like,
doing, Coach? But
I've had some guys like they go. I remember one year that one of my players called me, Coach, you would never have put up with that guy when I played. I said, well, we're close.
Yeah, I've had a few of them. you know, you have to change as you coach. You know, kids are different, good or bad. And I've had a couple of them. A lot of them, when they come, they sit behind the bench and they're like, Coach, you're getting so soft. You don't yell anymore. You know, so what's wrong with you? You know, like,
times have changed a little bit.
And you gotta, you know, motivation for some is to yell at them. Others, that doesn't help them. So the point to getting on kids is not to get on them, it's to do what's going to make them better.
Yeah, and I've said this. I think as a coach, you're going to treat every kid fair. You don't necessarily treat them the same. Because there's a different. Some kids, you got to push a different button on them.
And I say that to the kids too. Fair doesn't mean equal. You know. Just like I had some conversations. I don't know if this is fair or not, guys, but when you come off the bench, you can't come in and make 2 mistakes in a row. My starters, they turn it over more than you, but like we just I don't know if that's fair or not, but like we can't afford to have bench people come in and turn it over and then have a defensive breakdown. So, you know, they got to buy into that, and I got some really good kids right now. I mean, some pretty athletic kids and some skilled kids, and from 7th grade all the way to 12th, they all love. It's nice you have groups that part of it here. Kids love basketball.
Well, you look around the gym.
I mean, those undefeated seasons. We had a tournament game on a Friday. And I go by the park on a Wednesday, it was nice out. After practice, they're down there playing basketball at the park against adults. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? So, you know, they just like to compete, and that makes
You'd rather have it that way than the other way.
Yep, no doubt. So it makes it a lot of fun when you got kids that really are into it and like it and get after it. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned Chris and David Sheldon being a big influence, football coach at Huron being an influence. Is there anybody else, you know, I think we all try to steal stuff, but is there any coaches maybe that you've tried to like steal and play that style?
You know, there's been a few coaches throughout the way, and I went to a clinic Roy Williams was having in North Carolina. My wife and I went to North Carolina. We went and saw Duke. That's crazy. It seems no bigger than this. And then we watched North Carolina's first 2 practices that year, and then we implemented a lot of the things they do break-wise. What I really like is how fast they played. I'm like, how do I get my kids to play that fast but under control? So I spent some time with Roy Williams and just saw what he did. So we call our break the Carolina break. We do a bunch of different things out of it, but I use that. He was a big influence. And I went, the first 2 years I ran it, we went undefeated, so it seemed like a good move at the time. But he was a big influence. Coach K, I've always liked what he does off the court.
Yeah.
You know, it's not X's and O's, it's about relationships. Yeah. And I get to know my players in first grade. Like my 3 seniors right now, they were ball boys for me when I first got here. And it's going to be a tough one when they leave. It's weird. So you build relationships, and that doesn't mean I'm always nice.
Nope.
Sometimes it's got to be tough conversations, and it's nice when you have, I have plenty of kids, coach, I know how mad I got you when you were on me about this and that, but it made me a better person and a better player. And so that's always fun to hear those
And sometimes
comments.
it's the guys you got on the most
Yeah.
that you thought that hated you, and 4 years later they're coming back and going, Coach, I'm thankful that you did that.
Yep. So that makes you feel good. That's the fun part about coaching.
Well,
you like to win and compete, but that's so cool. And
so you kind of already alluded to my next question. Like, what's your favorite part of coaching?
Yeah, definitely the relationship I build. Like, went to Brock Montgomery, who is his brother actually is a senior this year for me. Both of them really good golfers, and he went to college to play golf for a while. Now he's trying to go pro. He lives in Georgia, and we went to Hilton Head this summer. And he lives only about less than an hour away from Hilton Head, so he's going to come play golf with us and hang out with us for a while. But the hurricane hit, and we both got it didn't work out. Yeah,
you were at the bad weekend.
So I was in contact with him that whole time because he was in his house, and he said, I don't know, I've never been through a hurricane before. So, but just stuff like that. We go out and go golf with some guys, and I got a couple guys coaching, and they call me up and ask for advice. And I had a couple guys that used to be my players coach with me. Those things are. That's just a lot of fun when you can do things like that.
Well, let's flip it at 180. Is our least favorite part of coaching?
Yeah, there is. Least favorite part of coaching, to be honest, dealing with non-basketball issues, whether it be the bus or complaints that you're like, it might not even be your fault, or you're going to have. I was a parent. I understand. It's hard to see your kid get yelled at sometimes. It's hard to see your kid not play. So I understand, but I try to make them, and that's the hardest part is the kid, especially that has bought into everything we've tried to do, and now he's not playing. And that's hard. And one of the things I don't do a good job of sometimes is I might play a player or two that maybe shouldn't be playing the minutes he's playing just because he's been with the program so long, because it's just so hard for me to.
Yeah, that is.
And it's like, and I'm sorry, man, but like these guys are better, and this is where you're at, and your role is practice player, and that's not always fun. And no matter how you put it, kids and parents probably don't like that. But that's I feel bad for the kid,
But again, I go.
Not everybody can play. Hey, I tell them, hey, I want to play in the NBA too, and I can't. So.
Yeah. But I think the other part though is sometimes when it's all over, all said and done, and they look back, like you just mentioned, there's a lot of lessons that were learned, like in the gym tonight at practice.
Yeah. And I had some kids that didn't play for me at all. I'll have them call me from time to time, Coach, man, I really appreciate what you did. I didn't realize it at the time, and they'll come when they get home. They'll come visit me, and that's cool. Because it's not personal.
Even though
it's personal. Yeah, it means I'm getting old too. It's not personal, but that's the hard part about coaching. Sometimes you just got to do what's best for the situation.
I think maybe you already alluded to some of the things, but what do you really like about this basketball team? For the 2024-25 edition of the Upper Sandusky Rams.
I like our athleticism, our perimeter play. I like how they all are buying into the defensive end. They have fun playing defense. And right now, if we can get teams into a 5-on-5 game in the half court, we're pretty good right now.
I think I mentioned that in my broadcast Saturday night.
Transition defense is something we got to get better at. But
it's early.
Colombian's really good in transition. It's not like, that Shawberry kid was tough to stop.
Well, and that's kind of been the MO of Ryan.
Yes, it is. That's how he plays. So, that was a good test for us. And what's nice about playing good teams is you see it's glaring. Oh, shoot. If we'd have played another team that wasn't very good, we get away with that and don't even notice it. But it's like, we better shore that up or we're going to be in trouble come down the road. So I think this group has a chance to be really good. It's too bad Friday night had that one and it didn't work out, but the kids really, I think, have learned from it. Sometimes when you lose, that's where you learn the most. And I like their resiliency. This group is a resilient group, and we got a lot back from last year, and they were resilient last year as well. So they didn't let Friday night affect Saturday, so they came out ready to play. And it's, you got kids like that, it's a lot of fun.
One last question. I mean, one of the things that, as being an executive director of the Coaches Association, we're always looking at ways to improve basketball. And one of the things that we're experimenting with this year is we're going to do a shot clock event at Canton at the end of December. What's your feelings about a shot clock in high school?
To tell you the truth, I'm okay either way. The only place it's going to, in my opinion, affect any of our games would be at the end of quarters or games. I mean, we don't hold the ball for 35 seconds a whole lot anyway. And I think most teams are that way. It will change the end of games. We work a lot of end of quarter stuff and we like the momentum at the end of the quarter, hold the ball. And end of the game, you got to lead, like against Columbian. Might have done it a little too early, but we spread it a little bit and was trying to get some layups. You wouldn't be able to do that if they went shot clock, but I'd be okay with a shot clock. I mean, I'm kind of old school with a lot of stuff, but it's part of the game everywhere now. It's probably time we just do it.
But that's the one thing I try to listen. Of course, now that I'm not coach, you get to listen to podcasts and everything. But I know Coach K has said one of the things that he doesn't like about basketball is it's not universal. There's all. Yeah. I mean, like now in high school, there's no one-on-ones, but you go to college.
That's really
shooting
weird.
One-on-one. That's going to be weird. And remember, whatever 15 years ago, we all talked about going to halves.
Vote for your Coach B's baller.
And now
commenting
the
below.
only one that doesn't have quarters are men's college basketball. So it's different. But really appreciate you spending time. Great to see you practice. I said I loved your practice tonight. Organization of it. Wish you the best of luck. And again, thanks a lot, Jeff.
Hey, I appreciate it. Nice to have you guys over.
Thanks. The most important game for the Rams' quest for the N10 title comes on Saturday at the Eagles' Nest when they clash with Colonel Crawford. A win pulls them within a game of the Eagles for the crown, while a loss likely puts the conference championship out of reach. Now let's see who the fans have chosen as the winner of Coach B's Baller from last week's nominees. Congratulations to freshman Jackson Hall of Willard, who received nearly 40% of the vote for his performance against Ontario. This youngster put up a game-best 23 points against the Warriors, converting 9 field goals in front of the home crowd to earn the title of Coach B's Baller. Now it's time to meet this week's nominees for Coach B's Ballers, featuring the top individual performances captured by our cameras over the last 7 days. Our first nominee is Justice Thompson of the Crestview Cougars. This All-Ohio senior added another 30-point performance in the Cougars' 83-56 win over Mansfield Christian. His monster night included a 13-for-16 performance from the free throw line. Coach John Kurtz's team stands at 10-1 and 6-0 in the Firelands Conference. Our second nominee is Kayla Larimore of the Centerbird Trojans. The KMAC's leading scorer was added again in the Trojans' win over Northmore. Kayla scored 32 points, grabbed 9 rebounds, and had 3 steals. Kayla is averaging almost 23 points per game for the Trojans, who are currently 13-1 overall and are on top of the KMAC with a record of 8-1. Centerbird travels to Mount Gilead tonight. Our third nominee is Carson Reinhardt of the Fredericktown Freddies. Carson scored 20 points, including knocking down 2 threes in the Freddies' 65-57 win over Centerburg on Friday. This is Fredericktown's 9th straight win as they stay undefeated on the road. Coach Dibbling's team currently sits on top of the KMAC standings at 7-0, and they are 9-2 overall. Our fourth nominee is Brooke Frombaugh of the Winford Royals. This sophomore, who leads the N10 in scoring, had a smooth double-double in the ladies' Royals win over Buckeye Central on Saturday. Brooke scored 12 points and grabbed 11 rebounds along with adding 2 block shots for good measure. Coach Amy Taylor Sheldon's team grabbed another key win last night against Upper Sandusky and now sit at 6-3 in the N10 and 10-4 overall. Our 5th nominee is Micah Young of the Westerville North Warriors. This outstanding senior guard was dominant in his team's 65-30 win over Big Walnut on Friday night. Micah scored 16 points and added 3 assists. With the win last night over Withington-Kilbourne, the Warriors stand at 5-0 in the Capital Division and are 10-2 overall this season, with their only 2 losses being to highly ranked Olentangy Orange and Cleveland St. Ignatius. Our 6th nominee is Zy Davis of the Mansfield Christian Flames. Zy shined brightly for the Flames at both ends of the floor as she scored 17 points and had 8 steals in the Flames' win over Hillsdale. The Flames are sizzling as they have won 7 in a row and are currently in first place in the Mid-Buckeye Conference. Our 7th nominee is Jill Bertkey of the Cardington Pirates. Jill scored 14 points, pulled down 7 rebounds, and added 2 block shots in the Pirates' upset win over the Fredericktown Freddies last Wednesday night. After a rough start to the season in which the Pirates went 0-5, this team has won 7 of their last 9 games and hosts Danville tonight. Our 8th nominee is Mel Blueball of the Clear Fork Colts. This 3-point shooting phenom showed that she has an all-around game as she scored 16 points, all on 2-point field goals, and grabbed 6 rebounds in the Colts' 45-31 win over West Holmes on Monday night. This was the Colts' 10th consecutive win, which is a new program record. Coach Scott Sellers' team is now 14-2 overall and sits at 8-1 in the MOAC, 1 game behind Shelby. Our 9th nominee is Eve Schwemley of the Shelby Whippets. Eve went off in the first quarter in last night's game against the rival Willard Flashes as the Whippets took a 43-35 win on the road. She led all scorers with 20 points in this game, but also showed why she's more than just a scorer, as she grabbed 8 rebounds and also had 3 steals. Coach Natalie Lance's team continues to be the team to beat in the area as the Whippets are 13-1 overall and 9-0 in the MOAC. As always, we'll put these nominees up for a fan vote to see who you think is my top baller of the week. Let's take a 30-second timeout and be back with more Joe Show after a word from our sponsor, Buckeye Horizon.
Season 3 of The Joe Show is brought to you exclusively by Buckeye Horizon, your local Trane comfort specialist. Get the best in home comfort, hot or cold. We're here for you.
We welcome you back to episode 3 of The Joe Show for everybody's favorite segment, I presume, your top cuts of the week, which are never easy to narrow down because our cameras capture so many amazing performances week in, week out. But after carefully sifting through all the nominees from all the OH reporters, I have boiled it down to the 10 very best from the last 6 days. Here they are. It's your top cuts of the week, powered by Buckeye Horizon, your local Trane dealer. Let's start the countdown with the opening moments from last night's Columbia at Hillsdale game, where the Raiders are going to try the lane, but when they get there, they are going to find out that it's blocked. Brady Critchbaum holds his ground and sets up a roadblock inside the painted area as the 6'7" senior bounds to the second story to turn back traffic. At number 9, it's Clear Fork's Mel Blueball, who typically likes the downtown living, but here off the drive, you're going to see her twist her body in midair for some extra English. Tough angle, but maneuvers it perfectly. And oh, by the way, how about the move to split the defenders as she darts through a trio of knights to get the hoop. I've described our next playmaker as a smooth operator outfitted with a pogo stick, and you're about to see why. Silky as moose pie with the handles, and then how about the air time to adjust with the left-handed finish. He's just a sophomore, but Davion Mack got that extra creamy peanut butter type of flavor, plus the bounce to cap off any occasion. Rivalry action next at number 7. Huge night for Shelby's Eve Schwemley, but not on this play, because the SWAT team came rolling through, aka Willard's Reese Bedingfield, who's going to pop the pinata from the weak side block. Let's check it out again. Yeah, right here. Awesome stuff from the junior forward. Fly with me back to the Falcons' nest, where you already witnessed some stingy D. Now how about some athletic offense this time? Off-target pass coming up, but Knox Lewis sucks it in like a magnet, then has the prowess to fill up the bucket, and the catch even more impressive in slow-mo, turning this one-handed grab into 2 points down the lane. We crack the top 5 inside of the furnace. Mansfield Christian looking for a 3. It's going to come up a little bit short, then Bella Young flips it up over her ponytail for the awesome reverse layup. And I know you're thinking, what did she just do? Here's a better look all zoomed in and slowed down. The celebration by Zy Davis says it all. More defense on the way at number 4. It's a steal and a fast break inside of the dog pound, but puff goes the weasel on this Danville shot attempt as Corbin clubs the rock into the second row of the bleachers. Crazy. But what's better than one amazing block? How about 3 from a variety of Freddies? Beginning with Blake Sipes, who packed his extra-large fly swatter for the trip to Centerburg. Next up, we have Carson Reinhart, hanging in midair before slapping 5 fingers on the ball, and Braden Clevinger will close things out. No soup for you. If it feels like you've seen this next movie again, it's actually more of a sequel. Time running out in the quarter, so Brody Hatfield grabs his hard hat and goes to work from way downtown for a big walnut triple. Second straight week he's landed on our countdown with a big-time buzzer-beating play. But at number 1, we've got a special scoop and score. Loose ball on the ground, it'll get snatched up by Margaretta's Julian Washington, and look out below. Oh, that poor rim in Willard student section. Aggressive. Two-handed slam from the All-Ohioan who grabs a loose change and throws down a monster deposit on his trip to Rack City. Pretty hard to argue with number 1, right? But really, I mean, that's up to you down there in the comment section. What did you think about my list this week? Let me know. Get the debate going down right now. Now send it back over to Joe Balogh. He's about to take you around the arena.
It's been a dominant stretch for the Colonel Crawford boys basketball team since dropping a tough game on opening night. Now winners of 11 straight. At the center of the team's success has been the play of their physical big man, Payne DeGray, who leads the Northern 10 in scoring and ranks second in rebounding. I caught up with DeGray for a lap around Mac Morrison Gym on this edition of Around the Arena.
Okay, we're here with Payne DeGray of the Colonel Crawford Eagles for this edition of Around the Arena. So Payne, paid a little bit of attention to football. I believe you were the N10 Defensive Player of the Year. So my first question is there anything that translates with football, going from football to basketball, as far as how you play your game?
Well, I'm a posting side, so obviously being aggressive on the O glass, D glass, and going up strong with my finishes. And during football season, we're in the weight room a lot, lifting, so I feel like the strength that I get from that really helps me out as a post player here at Crawford.
So Crawford, the last few years, have made some runs in the football playoffs. How difficult is that, though, when you make that transition of going from football right into basketball?
I mean, there's obviously an endurance issue, but Sheldon gets us in here and has us run and drills themselves and up and down. But usually about by week 2, we all got our lungs back. We just go hard in practice. That's one of our keys to get. Yeah.
Do you find like any time, like maybe this month here in December, that you maybe kind of hit a wall with that, or is it really not?
I mean, usually along the season, like some sickness hits, but we just push through that as a team and just keep going hard in practice, and that helps us with our endurance in the game. So.
Well, typically, as a high school athlete, there's people that have influenced you who might you consider to be maybe your biggest influence so far here as you played your career at Colonel Crawford?
Well, my freshman year going up against Jake and Maddie, today he was in practice helping us out. He's just always been there, and I've helped him out my freshman year, being a big body, him going over and finishing, going hard for his senior year, and now he's coming back to help me out through my junior. I bet I'll see him here next year for my senior season. He's going to help me out there too.
So as a player, you've been involved with this program. I think as a freshman, you earned a little bit of varsity time, played a major role last year as a sophomore. Now as a junior, how do you feel you've grown as a player from last season to early in this season?
Well, I feel like I've really worked on my free throws over the seasons. My freshman year, I shot 26% from the free throw line, but now I'm shooting about just over 60-70% from the free throw, which I feel like is really big for me since going up, finishing strong, trying to get to the line.
Yeah, you probably get to the line quite a bit with where you play inside. What do you enjoy most about playing basketball?
I mean, I love the team meals with the team, and just hanging out with the boys in the locker room.
If you're not playing football or basketball, what do you like to do in your free time?
I mean, I'm a big movie watcher. I go out, binge watch TV shows. I love that type of stuff.
So what's your favorite binge, if over here over Christmas break, do you have anything you binge watched?
Well, I started a couple. Dexter, Suits.
Yep.
Watch that. That's about it.
Favorite athlete?
I'd have to say Terry Rozier.
Why do you pick him? Kind of an unusual pick, maybe.
He's the walking highlight reel. I just love watching him play.
You're gonna sit down and eat a favorite. You mentioned you like pregame meals. What's your favorite pregame meal?
Oh man, so for our team meal, my favorite one this year was Dom's mom cooked up some like cheese steaks or whatever. I ate me like 3 of those things right before you. But that was nice.
So far, you've had a great career, both football and basketball. What's your best memory you've had so far playing here at Colonel Crawford?
I mean, any type of playoff run possible. In football, loved going into the playoffs, even as a freshman when I didn't play much, watching the upperclassmen like Parker and then go all the way to the regional semis. And then also, just like last year, a huge win over Mansfield Christian. Like, we were all celebrating after that win. It's just fun, playoffs.
Final question. Not many guys get a chance to play with a brother, in this case a younger brother. Mm-hmm. So kind of what's that like playing with your younger brother both in football and basketball?
Well, I mean, me personally, I hold him to a higher standard than all my other teammates because he's my brother, but I love playing with him. And Sheldon has talked to me about this multiple times before, but you only get to do it once in your lifetime. And just live it up now.
Yeah, and the thing I think you'll probably find is you may not realize it now, but 5 years after you're out of school, it'll be really special that you do. So thanks for participating in Around the Arena. Best of luck.
Thank you.
DeGray is currently shooting an amazing 73% from the field while taking more than 100 shots so far this season. His team scored a pivotal overtime victory on Friday over Mohawk for the outright lead in the N10, with another crucial matchup coming up this Saturday against Upper Sandusky. That's the end of regulation for this week's show. And when you win as much as I do, there's no need for overtime. Though I'll be putting in some extra sessions working on my acting techniques this week because Oscar nominees are just around the corner. And there's no way I don't get the nod once they see my performance.